My ex copied my restaurant. The name, the menu, the branding, even the wallpaper I hand-painted myself. And just when he thought he got away with it, the health inspector walked in during dinner rush, holding paperwork with my name on it. Hey there. Welcome back to the channel. Wherever you are, cooking dinner, walking your dog, or just needing a break from the chaos. Take a few minutes and settle in, because today's story is a wild one. Imagine this: you build something from scratch. You pour your heart, your soul, your life savings into it. And just when it starts to thrive, someone you once trusted turns around and tries to steal it and claim it as their own. Have you ever felt betrayed like that? Have you ever had someone copy your work, your dream, even your name? Stick around, because in this story, revenge doesn't come with shouting. It comes with paperwork, patience, and one perfectly timed health inspection. And hey, if you love stories where the underdog wins and justice hits just right, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know, and it keeps these stories coming. Thanks so much. Now let's dive in.
Hi, I'm Maya, 35, stubborn in the kitchen, and possibly more obsessed with rosemary than is socially acceptable. I own a small but mighty restaurant tucked into a cozy street corner in Asheville, North Carolina. The kind of place with squeaky wooden floors, handwritten menus on chalkboards, and herb planters on every windowsill. We serve food that makes you feel something, not just full, but remembered. But I didn't start out in restaurants. 3 years ago, I had what most people would call a respectable career. I worked corporate event planning for a big agency. Think beige hotel ballrooms, speakers with PowerPoint addictions, and CEOs who thought throwing around words like synergy and pivot made them profound. It paid well. I had health insurance, a 401k, and a shiny espresso machine in the office kitchen. And yet, every morning, I woke up with that gnawing emptiness in my chest, like I was building someone else's dream instead of my own. I grew up cooking with my grandmother. We didn't do takeout. We did slow-cooked stews, hand-rolled pasta, herbs snipped straight from the garden. Food for me was never just fuel. It was storytelling, healing, connection. So while I sat in endless Zoom calls about seating charts and gluten-free buffet options, I dreamed about something different. A place that smelled like roasted garlic and lemon zest. A space where strangers felt like family and meals lingered like memories. My then fiancé, Ben, was all for it, or at least he said he was. He was charming, charismatic, in that smooth-talking, I'll-figure-it-out-later kind of way. Not great with commitment, but good with numbers. We made a deal. I'd handle the concept, design, menu, marketing, all the creative stuff. He'd handle inventory, hiring, invoices. We'd be partners. In love, in business, in everything. It started beautifully. We called it Maya's Place. We painted the walls ourselves, hung string lights on the patio, grew basil in mismatched coffee cans. 6 months later, we opened our doors. 2 months after that, COVID hit. Sales plummeted. We scrambled, launched takeout, built pantry kits, hosted Zoom cooking classes. It wasn't enough. One day, I came in and Ben was gone. No warning, no goodbye. Just an empty closet, his key on the counter, and half our emergency fund missing. I later found out from my sous chef that he'd moved back to Raleigh. I broke. I sat on the kitchen floor and cried into a bucket of leeks for 3 whole days. Then I got up, maxed out a credit card, rehired my 2 most loyal staffers, and got back to work. I rebuilt the whole thing, from scratch, alone. Flash forward to last spring. Life had finally stopped feeling like a storm I couldn't outrun. After clawing my way back from the edge of collapse, Maya's Place was not only standing, it was thriving. We had a wait list again. People were driving in from other towns just to try our roasted beet salad with goat cheese mousse. A local food critic called us the soul of Asheville's East End. We even got a full-page spread in a regional lifestyle magazine, complete with photos of me plating our signature trout dish in my flour-dusted apron. It was the kind of success that doesn't come fast or easy. Every 14-hour day, every DIY patch job on the broken freezer, every 3 a.m. invoice scramble, it was all finally paying off. I'd started to breathe again, smile without it feeling forced. And then the phone rang. It was a Tuesday. I remember because it was delivery day, and I was knee-deep in sorting a shipment of baby turnips when my supplier called. His voice was casual, cheerful, like nothing was wrong. "Hey Maya, just confirming, should I send this week's invoice to Maya's Place or Green Fork Bistro?" I stopped mid-motion. My heart didn't race, not yet. It hesitated, the kind of jolt your brain gives you right before your stomach catches up. "What's Green Fork?" I asked. He hesitated. "The bistro. Same address you gave us last year, but they've been placing orders under Green Fork. Same focaccia, same garlic rosemary blend, even asked for your usual microgreens." I didn't say anything, just ended the call as politely as I could, set down the phone, and stared at the kitchen tiles until the white grout lines started to blur. Green Fork. I hadn't thought about that name in years. It was a throwaway idea from a brainstorming session back when Ben and I were still engaged, and still pretending to be partners. I liked the name. He didn't. That was the last we ever discussed it. Or so I thought. My hands trembled as I wiped them on my apron and grabbed my phone. One quick search. That's all it took. There it was. Green Fork Bistro. The first image that popped up was of a cozy dining room drenched in soft amber light, exposed brick walls, mismatched wooden chairs, a chalkboard with a seasonal chef's board written in the same handwriting I used at Maya's Place. Same plate garnishes, same herb bundles tied to the napkins with twine. It looked familiar. Too familiar. Like someone had taken a photo of my restaurant and hit clone on a bad design app. As I scrolled, the knot in my stomach tightened into something harder, colder. Ben was listed on the website as founder and head chef. Let that sink in for a second. The man who once proudly admitted to never owning a cast iron skillet was now calling himself a chef, head chef. The same man who thought rosemary belonged in smoothies. I didn't even feel angry yet. Just numb. Until I saw the About Us section. According to the website, Green Fork Bistro was Asheville's original rustic comfort dining experience, inspired by long nights during the COVID lockdown and a desire to bring warmth and honesty back to the dinner table. And then, the interview. It was a write-up in some local food blog I'd never heard of, the kind of place that I'll call anything with avocado elevated. But it had quotes, direct ones, from Ben. "The idea came to me during the early days of COVID," he said. "I knew people needed comfort food, rustic, honest, beautiful, so I made it happen." That was my line, my vision, my voice. He didn't just take my menu, he took my story. The blood, sweat, and sleepless nights I poured into making Maya's Place real, he repackaged it, slapped a fake label on it, and started serving it to the public like it was his idea all along. And here's the kicker. People were eating it up. Photos of smiling couples, soft-lit ambiance, hashtags like slow food and local roots. Every image, every caption felt like another needle shoved into my chest. That was the moment the numbness cracked. Not into sadness, but into rage. Not the fiery, scream into your pillow kind of rage. No, this was colder, sharper. The kind of anger that makes you slow down instead of speed up. The kind that whispers, "Okay, you want to play dirty? Watch me." And just like that, the pity party was over. Because if Ben thought I'd let him steal my work, my name, my dream, and walk away smiling, then he didn't remember who he was messing with. I needed to see it for myself. Not just through a phone screen or a third-party invoice. I needed boots-on-the-ground confirmation that what I was seeing, what I feared, was real. So I drove out to Green Fork Bistro. It wasn't far, just 15 miles west of my restaurant, in one of those rapidly gentrifying Asheville neighborhoods. The kind where you could still smell stale brewery yeast in the alleyways, but now it mingled with the scent of lavender lattes and artisanal dog biscuits. The streets were dotted with yoga studios and kombucha bars, like someone had tried to scrub away its past with matcha. And there it was. From the outside, it looked eerily familiar. Too familiar. I sat in my car, parked across the street, engine still running, just staring. The front patio had the same thrifted bistro chairs we'd sourced from that salvage yard south of town. Same weathered wooden planters I had sanded and stained by hand. The sign, a minimalist design etched into reclaimed wood, mirrored mine down to the font. The cafe lights strung overhead were even knotted in the exact same pattern. I remember tying those myself, swearing under my breath at 11 p.m. the night before our soft opening. It was like staring at a stage set of my own restaurant, a parallel universe where everything was slightly off, like someone had copied the homework, changed a few words, and called it original. But the worst part? The printed notice taped inside the front window. It was a health inspection certificate. At first glance, nothing seemed off. It looked legitimate, even laminated, like a trophy. But something pulled at my gut, told me to lean in. And there it was. My name. Full legal name, still listed as the permit holder. It took my brain a full 5 seconds to catch up to what I was seeing. I blinked, looked again. Nope, not a coincidence, not a clerical error. It was the same document we'd filed together for Maya's place almost 2 years ago. The one Ben had helped submit. The same permit that was supposed to be exclusive to my establishment. He had taken a scanned copy, probably from one of our old shared Google Drive folders, swapped out the restaurant name at the top, and printed it out, like it meant something, like it made him official. The wave of emotion that hit me then wasn't just betrayal. It was deeper than that. This wasn't some petty branding theft anymore. This was fraud. Legal, document tampering, state law violating fraud. He wasn't just posing as a visionary chef. He was operating a fully functional restaurant under my legal documentation. If anything went wrong, a foodborne illness, an accident in the kitchen, a supplier dispute, my name would be on the line. And it didn't stop there. I realized in that moment, if he was willing to do this, there's no telling what else he'd stolen or manipulated. Had he reused our vendor contracts? Claimed our original recipes as his own? Lied to staff about his experience? The possibilities cascaded through my head like a collapsing Jenga tower. I leaned back against the headrest, heart pounding. For a split second, I thought about storming in, marching right through that door and calling him out in front of a full dining room. I imagined the hush that would fall, the way his smug face might crack under the weight of public humiliation. That image was tempting. But no, that would give him too much satisfaction. That would make me look unstable, emotional, irrational. The crazy ex narrative practically writes itself in situations like this. And I wasn't going to hand him that. This wasn't going to be a shouting match. This was going to be surgical. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture of the permit in the window. Then another, just to be safe. I captured the restaurant name, the certificate number, my name. Evidence. As I sat there, engine humming beneath me, I realized something else. Something cold and quiet that settled into my chest like a loaded promise. This wasn't just business anymore. This was personal. He hadn't just stolen a brand. He'd stolen my identity. He'd taken the dream I had rebuilt from ashes and paraded around in it like it was some costume he could zip on and off. But he forgot one thing. I built this world. Every recipe, every supplier, every legal document, every permit, every connection, every single inch of what made Maya's place magic. And now, I was going to use all of that, every resource, every contact, every ounce of credibility I had earned through blood, sweat, and burnt tomato confit, to take him down. No drama, no shouting, no text message wars. Just facts, law, precision. He wanted to steal my name? Fine. He could watch it appear on the cease and desist. I took one last look at the dimly lit dining room, guests sipping wine, servers moving between tables, and then I shifted the tar into drive. The game had changed, and I had just found my checkmate. When I got home that night, I didn't pour a glass of wine. I didn't rage post on social media. I didn't even vent to my sous chef. I opened my laptop, sat down at my kitchen table, still wearing my flower-streaked apron, and got to work. First call, the city health department. I gave them the inspection permit number I'd photographed earlier and explained, calmly, factually, that a business called Green Fork Bistro was operating under a permit that listed my legal name. I told them I was the sole owner of Maya's place and that the document being used was outdated, misapplied, and absolutely unauthorized. The woman on the phone, sharp and no nonsense, paused mid-typing. Then she said, slowly, "Wait, you're telling me he's operating under your permit?" I took a deep breath. Oh, it gets better. She told me she'd flag it for priority review. I thanked her, and we hung up. That alone would have been enough to most people sweat, but I wasn't done. Next, I called Angela, my business attorney, the same woman who helped me renegotiate my commercial lease during the worst months of the pandemic. She's tough as nails and allergic to injustice. I forwarded her every piece of evidence, the permit photo, the screenshots from his website, and even a digital copy of the original health inspection application from 2 years ago, complete with my signature and Ben's initials in the corner. Angela didn't say much, but I could tell by the measured silence that she was already drafting something brutal. Then came the final chess move. I called Claire, a journalist I'd met during Restaurant Leak. She'd been assigned a fluff piece on Asheville's food scene, but we'd hit it off during a private dinner I hosted for press and influencers. She was witty, brutally honest, and allergic to culinary plagiarism. Most importantly, she still remembered the lemon thyme panna cotta I served and the handwritten thank you note I left in her to-go box. I told her everything. Not in a please help me way, but in a you might want to be the first to break this kind of way. Her response was exactly what I hoped for. Send me what you've got. This kind of theft, it's personal. Within 48 hours, the health department quietly launched an inquiry. I got no updates, which was expected, but I had a feeling something was coming. And I was right. Exactly 1 week later, on a Friday night at 7:15 p.m., they sent in the cavalry. Friday night for a restaurant is sacred. You don't mess with it unless you're bringing the kind of chaos that makes Yelp reviews implode. Ben's restaurant was packed. Peak dinner rush. Customers chatting over wine, servers ducking and weaving between tables. The energy would have been buzzing. Until a man in a dark gray jacket, clipboard in hand, walked through the door. I wasn't there, but Claire was. She texted me from the bar. Her updates came in short bursts. They just pulled him into the kitchen. He looks pale, like pale pale. He doesn't know where the safety plan is. Oh my God, Maya, your name is still on the license in their system. They're showing him the original concept doc, the one you emailed with your logo and branding. It was everything I had hoped for. All neat, all legal, all devastating. The inspector asked for his food handler certifications. Expired. Asked for a staff training log. Didn't exist. Asked for documentation proving the permit was valid, and found my name on the state system instead. That's when the music cut. That's when the kitchen door stopped swinging. That's when customers started noticing something was wrong. They shut him down on the spot. Not a citation, not a slap on the wrist, A full, immediate cease and desist. Ben tried to argue, of course he did. Probably gave his best fake confused face, maybe even threw out something like miscommunication or oversight, but it didn't matter. This wasn't high school drama, this was state law, and state law doesn't care about your ego. They posted a bright orange notice on the front door. Closed until further notice. Operating without valid documentation. And just like that, the carefully curated illusion he built crumbled like a stale biscuit. The staff were confused, the diners were irritated, and Ben, I imagine he stood there frozen, watching it all collapse. Not with fire, not with rage, but with silence, the kind that sticks. Claire, ever the journalist, caught the moment perfectly. She snapped a photo of him standing by the window, half shadowed by the bright glow of the shutdown notice. She didn't post it, but she kept it. She said it spoke volumes. Then came her article. She published it the following Monday under the title, "When the Knockoff Can't Take the Heat, A Tale of Two Bistros." It was brutal, in the best way. She laid out the timeline, the permits, the branding similarities, the interviews. She quoted his words back at him and juxtaposed them with evidence of everything he stole. She even threw in a screenshot of the health department's shutdown notice and linked to the public record verifying the permit fraud. And while she never named me directly, just referred to me as the rightful owner of the original concept, anyone who'd ever set foot in Maya's place knew exactly who she was talking about. The article went viral. Food bloggers picked it up. Industry insiders shared it like wildfire. The comments were merciless. Stealing from your ex and the health department? Bold move. Imagine faking a permit in the Yelp era. Clown behavior. Betty called himself a self-made chef. By the time I checked the Green Fork Yelp page, it was already flooded with one-star reviews. Not even from diners, just people furious on principle. I didn't gloat. I didn't even repost the article. I just bookmarked it, quietly, like a souvenir. That Friday night, after the dust settled, I poured myself a glass of wine, stepped out onto my little patio, the real one, and sat under the string lights I'd hung with my own two hands. And for the first time in a long time, I exhaled. Not just relief, not just pride. It was something better. Justice, served warm with a side of rosemary. Green Fork didn't just close, it quietly evaporated. No official press release, no apology, just a flimsy Instagram post from Ben's account with a generic photo of a locked door and a caption that read something like, "We're temporarily closing for renovations and relocation. Thank you for your support." Support? The comment section told a different story. People weren't buying it. Not after the article, not after the health department notice, not after the screenshots of Claire's piece made their rounds on local foodie forums and Reddit threads with titles like, "Don't eat here unless you like stolen menus." Yelp was ruthless. One reviewer wrote, "Fake food, fake founder, fake vibes. Pretty sure I got food poisoning and secondhand embarrassment." Another said, "The rosemary focaccia was the only thing with any flavor, and now I know why, because it wasn't even his." It wasn't just the customers turning on him, it was the industry. Former staff started whispering stories about missed paychecks, under-the-table hiring, and a complete lack of basic kitchen safety protocols. Local chefs unfollowed him. His name stopped getting mentioned in food roundups. He didn't just lose the business, he lost the community. And me? Maya's place became busier than ever. We didn't do anything flashy, no viral campaign, no victory lap. We just kept serving good food, plated with intention and garnished with real history. People started driving in from 2, sometimes 3 counties over just to try the heirloom tomato pie. Reservations booked out weeks in advance. My little restaurant, born from a broken partnership and rebuilt in the ashes of a pandemic, became a place of pilgrimage. The staff felt it too. There was a new energy in the air, a kind of quiet pride. They knew what had happened, of course. I didn't have to say it. We just kept showing up every morning with flour on our sleeves and something to prove, not to Ben, but to ourselves. And Ben? The only time I heard from him was weeks later. I was at the hostess stand after close, sipping a lukewarm peppermint tea and doing payroll, when I noticed a notification on my phone. Ben has requested to follow you. No message, no apology, just that small, pathetic digital tap on the shoulder. Like maybe if he could peer into my life from the sidelines, he'd still feel connected to the success he tried to steal. I didn't block him. I didn't reply. I just left it. On read. And that, in a way, was the most satisfying part of all. Because revenge doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it's as soft as a quiet dining room at the end of a busy night, as sweet as whipped honey butter melting into a fresh biscuit, as still as your own reflection in the window, knowing that everything they tried to take from you is not only still yours, it's thriving. Ben disappeared after that, at least from my world. I heard a rumor he moved to Atlanta, tried to start a food truck, but even if it were true, I didn't care enough to confirm. His name stopped holding any weight in my life, just like his fake restaurant stopped holding any reservations. He became exactly what he feared the most: forgettable. And me? I kept going, kept cooking, kept standing in the restaurant I built, not out of spite, but out of resilience. The walls still carried the scent of rosemary and garlic. The chairs still creaked the same way when people leaned back and laughed too hard. The chalkboard menu still smudged a little on humid days. But it was mine, all of it. Every square inch earned, not stolen. And I never had to raise my voice to keep it that way. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served hot, it's served still. It's waking up every day in the life you built with your own hands, sipping coffee in the quiet peace they swore you'd never have. It's knowing they have to watch from behind the glass while you keep growing, creating, thriving. No screaming matches, no messy drama, just success echoing louder than any insult ever could. He burned the bridge, I planted a garden in the ashes, and it bloomed.
If you've ever had someone underestimate your worth or try to take credit for your hard work, hit that like button. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that quiet revenge is often the loudest. And don't forget to subscribe, because I've got more stories where karma cooks things extra crispy.